The air was cold and still. Tall blue trees with glowing leaves stood quietly in the alien forest. Jack, a human explorer, walked carefully through the thick vines and moss. His boots made soft, crunching sounds on the strange ground. He was far from Earth, on a mission to study plant life on planet Virelia 7. It was supposed to be a quiet planet, peaceful and empty. That's what the report said. But something felt wrong today. Suddenly, a voice cut through the silence. "Human, please help my mom." Jack froze. The voice was high-pitched, it sounded young, and it definitely wasn't human. He turned his head, heart racing. He could hear crying, desperate and full of fear. Without thinking, Jack ran toward the sound. Pushing past thick bushes and strange glowing mushrooms, the cry came again. "Please, she's hurt, she's going to die." Jack climbed over a fallen log and finally saw the source. A small alien child standing beside a deep pit. The child had bright purple skin, large black eyes, and small horns on her head. Her tiny hands were shaking. When she saw Jack, her eyes lit up with hope. She pointed into the pit. Jack rushed to the edge and looked down. Inside the hole was an alien woman, maybe 7 feet tall, with silver skin and long dark hair. She was tangled in thick, sharp vines and metal wires. Her legs were bleeding. Her arms were scratched. She was unconscious. The trap looked old, but deadly. She stepped on something and the ground opened. The girl cried, "Please, human, help her, please." Jack took a deep breath. He didn't know who these aliens were. He didn't know if they were friendly. But the child was crying. The mother was dying. He couldn't just walk away. "Okay," Jack said softly. "I'll help." The girl nodded, wiping her tears. Jack opened his backpack and took out a rope, flashlight, and a small toolkit. He tied one end of the rope to a tree and slowly climbed down into the pit. The air inside was damp and smelled like rust. Jack moved slowly. One wrong step and he might trigger another trap. He crouched beside the alien woman and checked her pulse. She was alive, but weak. The vines around her legs were not just plants. They were made of metal wires with sharp hooks. Whoever set this trap wanted the victim to suffer. Jack whispered, "Who did this to you?" He began cutting the wires carefully, using a laser tool from his kit. As he worked, he noticed something strange. This trap wasn't made for animals. The shape, the depth, the spikes. It looked designed for something tall, like a human. Jack's hands stopped for a moment. Was this a human trap? He looked at the metal pieces closely. Some of them had old Earth military stamps on them. His heart sank. "Why is this here?" he muttered. "Who left this behind?" Suddenly, the girl above whispered, "They use these traps to catch your kind." Jack looked up at her, surprised. "What do you mean?" The girl hesitated. "My people, they don't like humans. But my mom, she's different. She said not all humans are bad." Jack looked back at the woman's face. It was calm now, peaceful, even in pain. He finished cutting the wires, lifted her gently, and tied her to the rope. Then slowly, he climbed up and pulled her out with the girl's help. They laid the alien woman on the ground. Jack gave her water and used a healing spray on her wounds. The girl sat beside her, holding her hand tightly. "Thank you, human," she whispered. "You're not like the others." Before Jack could ask more, a deep sound echoed through the forest. A low growl, then another. Jack turned toward the trees. Several glowing eyes appeared in the dark. "Who's there?" he shouted. No answer, just growls, and the sound of footsteps. The girl gasped. "The hunters, they're coming." Jack stood up quickly. "Get back," he said, pulling out a small blaster. He didn't know who the hunters were, but they sounded dangerous. And they were getting closer. The girl grabbed his arm. "Please don't let them take her. She'll die if they do." Jack looked at the child. Her eyes were full of fear. Then he looked at the wounded alien mother. He made his choice. Then, "We run." Without another word, Jack lifted the mother onto his back. The girl led the way into the forest, running through shadows and mist. Behind them, the hunters followed, and the real story was only beginning. Jack ran through the strange forest with the alien woman on his back and the child by his side. The mist wrapped around them like a cold blanket. Trees twisted in unnatural shapes. Strange, glowing insects buzzed past his ears. But Jack didn't stop. He could hear footsteps behind them, fast, steady, and getting closer. The girl pulled at his sleeve. "This way. There's a hiding place." They climbed a steep hill and pushed through thick purple leaves. On the other side was a hollowed-out tree trunk, big enough for all three of them to crawl inside. Jack slid the mother down gently and covered the opening with large ferns. They sat in silence, breathing hard. The mother was still unconscious, her skin cold to the touch. Jack checked her pulse again, still alive but weak. Outside, the forest went quiet. Jack whispered, "Who are those people chasing us?" The girl looked down, her voice low and scared. "Hunters. From my village." "Why are they hunting your mother?" She hesitated, then said, "Because she broke the rule. She helped a human once. They think all humans are enemies." Jack frowned. "She helped a human? When?" "I don't know. A long time ago. She never said his name, just said he was brave, kind." Jack felt something stir inside him. Why would an alien risk her life for a human? He shook the thought away. There was something more urgent right now. "The trap," he said. "That pit we pulled her from, it wasn't normal. It was meant for someone my size. Those spikes, wires, they were human-made." The girl's eyes widened. "You saw it too?" Jack nodded. "Yeah. But what's worse, the metal in that trap. It had Earth military markings. Very old. From a war over 20 years ago." The girl looked confused. "But no human has come to our lands in many cycles." Jack stared at the forest floor. "Then someone left those traps a long time ago. And your people kept using them." The girl nodded slowly. "They say the traps were gifts from the sky gods, that they protect our land from the two-leg plague. That means humans." Jack chuckled bitterly. "Great, I'm a plague now." Suddenly the mother groaned softly. The girl rushed to her side. "Mom?" Jack helped sit her up. She opened, her eyes weakly, and looked at Jack. There was confusion, then recognition. You're human," she whispered. Jack nodded. "You were caught in a trap meant for me. Lucky I came along first." She blinked, then looked at her daughter. "You called him?" The girl nodded. "I had to. You were dying." The woman smiled faintly. "You did the right thing." Jack looked her in the eyes. "Why did they trap you?" The woman coughed. "I spoke against the tribe. I said humans are not our enemies. They said I betrayed them." "They hunt you now?" She nodded. "They fear your kind, but they don't understand. It was a human who saved me. Once." Jack leaned forward. "When? Where?" The woman looked at him carefully. "Long ago. I was young. I was trapped during a mission gone wrong. My own people left me. But a human soldier, he carried me for miles. He never asked for thanks, just smiled and disappeared." Jack didn't say anything. He remembered something from his early career, a mission gone wrong on a desert planet. A young alien female he carried out of a burning camp. Could it be her? Before he could ask, loud footsteps echoed again outside the tree. The hunters were close. The girl whispered, "They found us." Jack peeked through a gap in the leaves. He saw 3 tall figures, wearing bone armor and holding long energy spears. Their skin was the same color as the girl's, but their faces were painted with red lines. They were sniffing the air, searching. Jack turned back. "We need to move. Now." The mother tried to stand but fell back with a cry of pain. Jack grabbed her and hoisted her over his shoulder again. "I'll carry you. Just tell me where we can go." The girl pointed to the east. "There's an old shelter in the rocks. They don't go there. They think it's haunted." "Perfect," Jack said, and they slipped out the back of the tree. As they escaped into the mist again, the hunters turned toward the noise. But they were too late. Jack disappeared into the fog, carrying a woman who once saved a human and now was being saved by one. But deep inside, Jack couldn't shake the feeling. This wasn't just about a trap in the forest. This was about something far older, something coming back to life. The mist was thicker now. Every breath Jack took tasted like metal. The alien mother, still weak, was draped across his back. Her arm dangled, bleeding slowly. The child ran ahead, her tiny feet splashing in puddles and soft, glowing mud. Behind them, the sound of hunters chasing echoed. Low growls, sharp clicks, and the mechanical hum of tracking drones. Jack's legs burned, but he didn't stop. He had escaped from gunfire, crashed ships, and enemy raids on Earth. But this forest felt worse. It was alive, watching, waiting. "Just a little more," the girl shouted. "We're almost there." Jack didn't ask where. He just followed. They reached a river, not wide, but fast. The current twisted like a snake, and the water shimmered. With strange blue light, the girl leapt across a set of rocks to the other side. "Come on!" Jack adjusted the woman's weight on his back and stepped onto the first stone. It wobbled. The forest behind him growled. A red beam flashed past his ear. The hunters had caught up. Jack leapt across the last rock and rolled onto the other side. He grabbed the girl's hand and they dashed forward again into the thick trees. Minutes later, they stopped. They were in a small clearing. Large rocks formed a wall around a hollow space like a natural shelter. Vines covered the top like a roof. The girl ran in and cleared away some leaves. "This is it. The old den." Jack carried the woman inside and gently laid her down. Her breathing was slow but steady. "Why don't the hunters come here?" he asked. The girl sat beside her mother and whispered, "They believe this place is cursed. Long ago, a human fought back here, killed 5 warriors alone. Since then, no one returned." Jack raised his eyebrows. "A human killed 5 alien hunters?" She nodded. "They say he vanished into the rocks. Some say he still walks here." Angry and waiting, Jack looked around. The den was full of scratches on the walls, tall marks like claws or weapons. There were also burned spots and dark stains on the stone floor. It felt like a memory had been left behind. He sat down. "Maybe your ghost human was just someone like me. Someone trying to survive." The girl stared at him. "You don't act like a killer." Jack smiled sadly. "I've seen enough killing. I don't want to be one unless I have to." The girl's voice turned soft. "Then why do they hate your kind?" Jack thought about it. "Fear, maybe. Or lies passed down. Maybe something happened long ago. Something terrible." The alien woman opened her eyes again. She spoke in a low, raspy voice. "It's both." Jack turned to her. "You're awake." She nodded weakly. "Our tribe. They were once attacked. Years ago. A group of humans arrived. Some were good, others weren't. What happened? They took things, burned farms. The elders never forgot. They made sure we didn't either. They built hatred, passed it into every child." Jack clenched his fists. "But you helped. A human before?" She gave a small smile. "Yes. He was injured. I hit him. He trusted me. That moment changed everything for me. But it made me an enemy to my own people." Jack looked down. "And now I'm dragging you through the forest, because of the same thing." Suddenly the trees rustled. The girl froze. Jack reached for his blaster. A small floating drone appeared, round, with red lights blinking and sensors spinning. It had found them. Jack fired. The shot hit the drone, but not before it let out a high-pitched warning sound. The forest lit up, with movement. Dozens of footsteps. The hunters were here. We have to move again, Jack said quickly. No, the woman whispered. We stay. Stay? Why? She pointed to a crack in the rock wall. Down there, an old tunnel. The elders sealed it long ago. It leads to the cliffs. They won't follow. Jack nodded. He grabbed his gear, helped her up, and moved toward the crack. The girl crawled in first, lighting the path with a glowstone. But before Jack entered, he turned back and looked at the forest. He saw them. Tall, armored shapes, weapons ready, red eyes scanning. One paused, looked straight at Jack. Jack stared back, then vanished into the tunnel. The wilds behind him roared. But deep underground, a story long buried was waking up. One where a human didn't run, but stood, helped, and changed everything. The tunnel was cold and narrow. Jack had to crouch as he walked. The alien child led the way with a glowing stone in her hand, and her mother leaned on Jack's shoulder, barely able to walk. Strange symbols were carved into the walls, old, fading, written in a language Jack didn't know. The path opened into a hidden chamber, deep underground. The ceiling was high. Vines hung from the stone roof. A small pool of clear water reflected the light from the girl's stone. It was silent, safe. They sat near the pool. The alien mother rested against the wall, breathing slow and deep. Her eyes were heavy, but she motioned Jack closer. You deserve to know, she said softly. Jack leaned in. Know what? She looked at her daughter first, then back at Jack. What happened before? The first time I met a human. She began her story in a quiet voice. When I was young, I was part of a scouting mission. My tribe sent us to watch the skies. There were rumors that your kind was coming. We were told to be ready, to trap, to fight, to kill if needed. She paused, her voice shaking. But no one told us what humans really were. I thought you were monsters. Jack stayed quiet, letting her continue. We found a small camp, a human research team. One night, everything went wrong. My team attacked. First, fire, screams. I was told it was the only way. She closed her eyes. But one human didn't fight. He ran, carrying a child. He shielded her with his own body when we cornered them. Jack's eyes widened. A child? She nodded. Yes. His daughter, I think. He begged us not to hurt her. My squad laughed. They aimed their weapons. She took a deep breath. I couldn't watch. I stepped in front of them, told them to stop. And they didn't? No. They attacked me too, called me a traitor. I helped the man escape. I led him through secret paths. We hid in the cliffs. I cleaned his wounds. He was kind, even after what we did. Her voice cracked. He called me Hope. Said that was the name of someone he lost. Jack looked at her closely. Do you remember his name? She frowned, thinking. I only remember part of it. Captain Harris, I think. Jack's breath caught. Captain Harris, his mentor. The man who trained him before his first deep space mission. That wasn't just a story, it was real. She looked at him. You knew him, didn't you? Jack nodded slowly. He taught me everything. He died, saving refugees on another planet. I never knew the full story. The alien mother gave a faint smile. Then maybe his kindness lived on. Through you. The child, silent until now, finally spoke. Mom, why didn't you ever tell the tribe? They wouldn't have believed me, she whispered. They only remember fear. But I remember the truth. Jack stood and walked to the pool. He stared at his reflection. If more humans like Harris came instead of soldiers with guns, maybe your tribe wouldn't fear us so much. The alien mother slowly got up. She limped over and placed a hand on his shoulder. It's not too late. Maybe you're the one they were supposed to meet. Before Jack could reply, a loud sound echoed through the tunnel. Stone scraping against stone, the girl gasped. They found the entrance. Jack grabbed his weapon. How? That tunnel was sealed. The alien woman looked toward the symbols on the wall. These carvings, they weren't just stories. They're warnings. This place wasn't just a hiding spot. It was once a war shelter. Jack scanned the area. Then we need to prepare. We make our stand here. The woman's eyes lit up. Wait, there's something behind the pool. She knelt down, feeling the stones, pressing a few in a pattern. A rumble followed. A hidden panel slid open behind the pool. Inside, old weapons and tools lined the wall. Alien tech, dusty but powerful looking. Jack smiled. Now that's a lucky break. The child asked, "What is this place?" Her mother answered, "A place where warriors once defended peace. Maybe it will again." Jack handed her one of the old energy blades. She took it with a firm grip, her strength returning. Jack looked at both of them. If they want to fight, we give them one. And in the silence before the storm, Jack finally understood. This wasn't just a rescue. This was the beginning of a war, and a chance to rewrite the story between humans and this alien race. Jack stood at the entrance of the ancient chamber, gripping a pulse rifle he had just cleaned and powered up. The alien child sat beside her mother, her small hands shaking as she held an energy crystal to recharge a second weapon. The cave felt alive, whispers in the stone, shadows shifting as if the past was watching. They had a chance now. Old weapons. Strong walls. A history of resistance. But something still didn't feel right. The girl hadn't said much since they found the hidden room. Her eyes stayed on the floor. Her movements were stiff. Even when Jack gave her a piece of dried food, she barely nodded. The mother noticed it too. "Sweetheart, are you okay?" The child looked up, then looked away. "I'm fine." But Jack wasn't convinced. He knelt beside her. "Hey, if something's wrong, you can tell me." She didn't meet his gaze. "I just want you to be safe," he added gently. "I know," she whispered. Suddenly, the entrance behind them lit up, bright red flashing like a warning. They were no longer alone. Jack jumped up, weapon raised. The alien mother followed, blade glowing in her hand. Then they heard it, the slow, heavy march of boots, the low hum of alien drones, and a familiar voice that made Jack's stomach twist. "You brought him here, child. You did well." Jack spun, around. The girl had stepped back, toward the shadows. And from the darkness behind her, 5 tall hunters stepped into the chamber, weapons drawn. Their faces were painted red. The leader had bone armor with fresh scars carved into it. The girl's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't want to, I swear. They said they'd kill her if I didn't lead you here." The mother stepped between her daughter and the hunters, fury in her voice. "You used my child against me?" The leader of the hunters sneered. "She made her choice. She chose her people." "No," the girl cried. "I didn't want this. I just wanted Mom to live." Jack raised his weapon. "You set us up just to kill me?" The hunter aimed his spear at Jack. "Not just you. The traitor too." One of the drones zipped forward, and in an instant, everything turned to chaos. Jack fired. The cave lit up with red and blue flashes. The walls echoed with blasts and screams. The mother charged at the nearest hunter, blade slicing through his weapon before driving it into his shoulder. The girl screamed and ran for cover. Jack ducked behind a fallen pillar, blasting 2 drones out of the air. The third one fired a beam that skimmed his arm, burning through his sleeve. He gritted his teeth and kept firing. The mother took down 2 hunters, but the leader was strong and fast. His spear clashed with her blade in a spray of sparks. They circled each other like wolves. "You should have stayed silent," the leader growled. "But you let the human poison your mind," she answered with steel. It wasn't poison, it was truth. Meanwhile, Jack fought off a third attacker. He slammed the rifle into the hunter's head and kicked him aside. But more were pouring in. They were outnumbered. Suddenly, the girl shouted from the back wall, "The cave is going to collapse!" Jack looked up. The battle had weakened the ceiling. Stones began falling. Dust filled the air. "Run!" he yelled. But the mother didn't move. She locked eyes with her daughter. "You have to go. Now!" The girl screamed. "Not without you!" The mother made a choice. She grabbed a fallen crystal grenade and turned to Jack. "Take her. You have to get her out." Jack hesitated. "What about you?" She looked at him, calm and brave. "I'll hold them off, like he once did for me." Jack saw it in her eyes. This was goodbye. He pulled the child close and ran toward the escape tunnel. Behind them, the mother turned and faced the hunters alone. The girl cried, twisting in Jack's arms. "No, don't leave her. I'm sorry," Jack whispered. "She's buying us time." As they ran through the tunnel, a massive blast shook the cave. Fire burst behind them. Rocks fell. The air roared with heat. And then, silence. "Jack." And the child collapsed outside the cave, coughing in the grass. Behind them, the entrance was buried in stone. The girl wept into Jack's chest. "She was trying to protect us." Jack stared at the horizon, heart heavy. "She did more than that," he said softly. "She gave us a chance to stop this cycle of hate." And as the sun began to rise over the alien forest, Jack knew this wasn't just survival anymore. This was a mission. He would finish what she started. Jack awoke to pain. His wrists were tied. The grass beneath him was damp with morning dew, and his vision was blurry. When he blinked hard, he realized he was lying in a large stone cage. The bars were alien, curved bone and silver roots fused together. The child was in the corner, her knees pulled to her chest. Her eyes were swollen from crying. They had been captured. Again. Jack tried to move, but sharp cords dug into his skin. He looked around. They were no longer in the wild forest. The ground here was hard-packed red earth. Giant stone statues of warriors stood all around the area, watching with empty eyes. Then came the voice. Cold. Commanding. "He has awakened." Jack turned toward the speaker. The leader of the hunters stood just outside the cage. His red-painted face showed no joy, only pride. "You are accused of trespassing, of poisoning a child's mind, and of killing our warriors," the hunter said. Jack spat blood. "Your warriors attacked us. I protected her, and her mother." The hunter's eyes narrowed. "The traitor is dead." Jack's jaw clenched. The child looked up. "She died saving us." The hunter turned to the crowd now forming outside the cage. Alien villagers, dozens of them, watched silently. Some held weapons, others just looked afraid. "The tribe has spoken," the hunter shouted. "They demand justice through the old ways." A murmur spread through the crowd. Jack frowned. "What old ways?" The hunter smirked. "The trial of beasts." The ground began to shake. The villagers stepped back as giant gates opened in the far wall of the arena. A deep growl rolled out like thunder. Chains rattled. From the shadows, two creatures emerged. Massive, four-legged monsters with glowing eyes and armored hides. Their jaws were filled with blade-like teeth. Their bodies looked like they were made of rock and rage. Jack was dragged to the center of the arena. The child cried out, but the guards held her back. "If you survive," the hunter said, "you earn your freedom. If not, your bones will join the dust of this place." The beasts were released. Jack moved fast. Even with his hands bound, he rolled to the side as one beast lunged, crashing into a stone pillar. Dust exploded into the air. Jack ran toward a broken spear stuck in the sand. He snapped the rope on a jagged rock and grabbed the weapon just in time to block the second beast's jaws. The crowd gasped. Jack stabbed the spear into the beast's eye and rolled away again. He had no armor, no backup, just instincts. And humans, especially those from death worlds, had strong instincts. The first beast charged again. Jack waited until the last second, then ducked and led it toward the broken pillar. The creature slammed into it and the pillar fell, crushing the beast's neck. One down. The second monster circled him, now more cautious. Jack ran toward the wall of the arena, dodging debris. He grabbed a dropped chain and wrapped it around his arm. The beast lunged again, but this time Jack leapt, wrapped the chain around its neck, and pulled. The monster thrashed, but Jack held tight, climbing onto its back like a wild rider. He drove the broken spear down into the back of its skull. The beast let out a final scream and fell. Silence. The crowd stared, some in awe, others in fear. Jack stood, chest heaving, covered in dirt and blood. He dropped the broken weapon and looked straight at the hunter. "Is that good enough for your trial?" The hunter didn't answer. The child ran to Jack, tears and relief on her face. "He did it!" she yelled to the tribe. "He's not a monster. He protected me. He fought for her." Whispers spread through the villagers. Then one elder stepped forward, an old alien with gray skin and no weapon. He looked at Jack with tired eyes. "I knew her mother once," he said quietly. "She spoke of the human who saved her. We didn't listen then." He turned to the others. "Will we not listen now?" The hunter stepped forward, rage burning in his voice. "Lies! They speak poison. The human is dangerous." He raised his weapon toward Jack, but the elder raised his hand. "Enough." More elders stepped forward, then warriors. One by one they lowered their weapons. Even the crowd, once ready to cheer for blood, fell quiet. The hunter stood alone now. He growled and threw his spear into the dirt. "This is a mistake." Then he walked away. Jack collapsed to his knees. The child hugged him tightly. "You're safe now," she whispered. Jack looked up at the villagers, still silent. "No," he said. "We're just getting started." Because the real battle wasn't against beasts. It was against the hatred in their hearts, and that would take more than sharp teeth to kill. The sun began to set over the alien village, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet. Fires flickered in tall metal bowls. Alien villagers stood in silence, surrounding the center square where Jack and the young girl sat near a quiet stream. Jack's body was covered in bruises, and his shirt was torn. But his eyes were calm now, focused. He had survived the trial of beasts, and in doing so he had shattered everything they thought they knew about humans. Yet the silence in the air wasn't peace. It was confusion, fear, and the weight of old lies being questioned for the first time in generations. The girl leaned against him, still trembling from everything that had happened. Her mother was gone. Her people were unsure what to believe. And Jack felt like he was walking a tightrope above a fire. Would they accept him, or would they just wait until his back was turned? Elder Vasha, the oldest among the tribe, stood and raised his hand. The crowd turned to him. "Tonight," he said, voice strong despite his age, "we must face the truth we buried long ago, the truth of what happened when humans first came to our lands." The villagers listened, some folding their arms, others dropping their eyes. "Long ago," Vasha continued, "we were attacked. Our farms were burned. Our leaders were killed. We blamed all humans. We taught our children to fear them, to hate them." He looked at Jack. "But this one, he did not come with fire. He did not come to take. He came to protect." A younger warrior stepped forward, angry. "He killed our hunters." Jack stood slowly. His voice was calm. "I killed the ones who tried to kill us, who used a child to trap me, who murdered the woman who only wanted peace." The crowd murmured again. "His words are true," said the little girl, stepping forward. Her voice shook, but she stood tall. "They told me if I didn't lead him into the trap, they would hurt my mom. I didn't want to do it, but I was scared." She looked around at her people. "My mother died because she protected a human, and that human protected me. That's not a monster. That's what a hero does." There was silence. Then a woman from the back of the crowd stepped forward. Her face was lined with age, and her arms were marked with red ceremonial tattoos. "I remember the day the humans came," she said softly. "I lost my son to the fire. For years I blamed every human, but now, I wonder, what if I was wrong?" A warrior near her spoke next. He stood alone in the arena, We all saw it. No tricks, no armor, just strength and will. Even our best hunters couldn't do that. An older child shouted from the front, "Can he stay? Can he teach us?" Jack raised an eyebrow. "Teach you what?" The elder boy grinned. "How to fight like that. You were awesome." Some laughter finally broke through the crowd, and in that moment, the fear cracked. Later that night, under the starlit sky, Jack sat alone on a small hill outside the village. The stars looked almost like Earth's, but not quite. He wondered what Captain Harris would say if he were alive. Maybe he'd laugh, or maybe he'd say, "See, told you peace is worth fighting for." The girl walked up behind him quietly. She sat beside him, silent for a long time. Then she said, "I don't know what happens now." Jack looked down at her. "Neither do I." She looked up at the stars. "Do you think my mother is watching us?" He nodded. "I think she's proud of you. You were brave." She smiled sadly. "She used to say I had her fire. I never understood what that meant. Until now." Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. "It means you don't back down, even when you're afraid." The girl rested her head on his arm. "Will you leave?" He didn't answer right away. "I should," he finally said. "I have people out there waiting for me. Reports to make. Worlds to warn." "But," Jack sighed, "but something tells me this isn't over." The next morning, the village council met. The hunters who had led the ambush were no longer welcome. Some fled. Others stayed but dropped their weapons and titles. A few, shamed by their actions, begged for forgiveness. The little girl, now seen as a voice of truth, was given the honor of speaking at her mother's resting ceremony. Jack stood beside her. When her speech was done, she turned to him and said, "You're not like the stories. You're not what we feared. You're the human who changed everything." Jack looked out at the villagers and raised his voice. "I didn't come here to be a hero," he said. "I came here by accident. But the choice to help, that was mine. I saw a child crying. I saw someone suffering, and I didn't care what species they were." He paused. "You can keep fearing humans, or you can remember this day and start something better." There was silence. Then the elders stood and placed their hands on their hearts, and one by one the tribe knelt. In the following days, Jack helped build a new wall, not to keep people out, but to mark the names of those lost, and those who saved. The alien mother's name was carved there, and next to it, Jack's. The girl placed a single glowing flower beside the wall. Jack looked down at her. "You're strong. You'll do good things." She grinned. "Only if you visit again." He laughed. "You have my word." When the ship came to retrieve him, the villagers gathered to say goodbye. Jack hugged the girl tightly. "Be the voice they listen to now," he whispered. "You're the fire now." She nodded, eyes full of tears. As he stepped onto the ship and looked down one last time, she raised her hand high. "You're no monster," she shouted. "You're the hero my people forgot." And Jack smiled, because in a galaxy full of fear and hate, sometimes all it took was one human to remind them what hope looked like.